Ready when you are then. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. My name's Councillor Mike Adams. I am the Vice Chair of the Fire Authority today, acting as Chair. Welcome. Today we're going to be going through the agenda, so we'll kick off with agenda item 1, please, which is apologies for absence.
We have apologies for absence from Councillor Audrey Winter, Councillor John Clark, Councillor Terry Cox, Councillor Jodie Stoll, Councillor Jim Vernon and PCC Gary Godden.
Thank you. And if we can have any declarations of interest as well.
Can I declare an interest in agenda item 5, please?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So we're going to move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, which were held on the 25th of July 2025. If we can have a raise of hands, show all those in favour, please. Thank you. That's carried unanimous. Thank you. And that's over to me. Right, I'll take you straight into Chair's announcements then. So first of all, we'd like to talk about Rob Taylor, who is the Chief Fire Officer and Chief Executive at Derbyshire FRS. I'd like to start obviously on touching on the really sad news that we received last week that he had passed away. He was part of the Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service. We want to pass on our condolences to all of those and obviously their families associated as well. It was a very short, unexpected battle with an illness. He was a good man, valued member of the fire sector, and to many of the staff there was a friend and mentor, and I'm sure across the other fire services also. He'll be sadly missed, like I said, and all passing our thoughts go to his family, friends and everyone who knew him. And for the time being, our former Assistant Chief Fire Officer, Nick Sharman, is Derbyshire's Acting Chief Fire Officer. And we'll be supporting them as well to the best we can over that period as they get used to their new situation. But yeah, terrible to hear that news, and always sad to lose people that we know, and especially within a service that relies on their CFOs for everything to work so well. So I'll move on to the next item, which is the firefighter memorial event. So it was, I'm speaking in the words of Audrey here, so just so you know, on this section. It was an honour for Audrey to attend the Firefighters Memorial Trust Annual Remembrance Service, the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, early this month. She was with Craig here, I believe, and it was a proud moment for her to be able to represent the service and the Nottinghamshire Fire Service and pay tribute to all members of the UK Fire and Rescue Service, past and present. So thank you for that. Thank you for representing us, both of you. Firefighters charity work as well. There's been a lot of charity work going off across the authority, so we'd like to pass on our thanks as well from the authority to all those that have taken the time to raise money for the firefighters charity. Tens of thousands of pounds have been raised by staff so far this year, and the NFRS is now in the top 20% of Just Giving fundraisers nationally. So no mean feat to achieve that. So well done to all involved. And any members that'd like to get involved and support the charity, please speak up or do a cycle around every fire station in the world. Is that next for you? Well done to you as well, for your fantastic achievement. On to the to Bestwood Lodge sale. You should have been aware that the service has now officially sold Bestwood Lodge. It was the former headquarters site of Notts Fire. This has taken a lot of work from colleagues, and the thanks go out from all of us here in achieving that and finalising the deal. The money from the sale will now go into the services account, and we're now able to move forward and continue on the improvement journey across all the other sites, and continuing to be a strong and high achieving fire service. So moving on to the NFRS awards. So the Services Annual Awards Ceremony is taking place on the 12th of November, Crown Plaza Hotel. I've already got my tickets. I don't know if any of you have, but if you haven't already and the deadline hasn't gone, then get your applications in. This is always, apparently it's always a really inspiring event. I've never been before, but according to this it is, so I can't wait to go. I think it's going to be interesting to hear a lot of experiences from individuals across the services and the things that they do, because there's things that you'll hear and see in the press that we'll all hear about, but I think there'll be some quite impressive things from individuals. I'm really excited to hear that myself. There is a link still. I think you should have it all now. I believe everyone should have had the link, so if you haven't got it, let us know and we'll get one over to you. And anybody that can't attend now, having booked a place, please let us know so we can get you off the list as well and free up a place for anybody else that can attend. And my last one on this is to hand over to Councillor Andrew Rule, who wants to talk about running the Robin Hood Half Marathon. No idea why you do that. At the end of September, in support of the firefighters. That's why you've done it. Charity. If you want to have a conversation about that. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. So, as some members will know, last November I was involved in a pretty serious car accident coming back from my mother's house on the A52 at Bingham. In July I was lucky enough to meet the crew at Red Watch from London Road who cut me out the vehicle. As a small measure of gratitude, I'm running the Robin Hood Half Marathon a week on Sunday in support of the Firefighters Charity, and if any members would like to sponsor me, I will send you a link at the end of the meeting. But training's going okay, so with all things being equal, I should make it over the finish line. We'll see how we get on.
That's good. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Thank you, and good on you. Good on you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 5. It's the appointment of post of the Assistant Chief Fire Officer. So at this point, I think we're going to... Thank you, Leila. So at this point, we're going to hand over to... Councillor Lilly.
Chairman, I've had it pointed out to me, and I've been made sure that they weren't going to mention it, so I will. There is an issue. If you have a look at the actual report, it states that they will be in position on the 22nd of September. However, today is the 19th of September and they're already on the paperwork saying that they're in position. Mm-hmm. Could you explain that, please?
I'll hand over to the CFO at that point.
Yeah. Obviously, with Chair's announcements, we deal with your question first, Karen, Chair's announcement. So I was made aware of Rob Taylor's illness by Mick Sharman, because you'll know he's been doing the joint work around replacement mobilising. I was approached about whether we could free up Mick earlier from the 8th of the month because there was no real strategic decision making in Derbyshire, and obviously they'd appointed him as their DCFO. I approached the Chair, the Clerk, the Treasurer and the Vice Chair about interim arrangements, about whether they would be accepting about releasing Mick sooner to make sure that somebody had got decision making over in Derbyshire. And given the fact that we got, in my view, strength in depth as officers, clearly I felt that the risk was mitigated by doing that. But clearly it's an authority appointment. They are your officers, I'm your officer. I can't just appoint as I wish. So there was a conversation, including the clerk, about whether we were acting appropriately or not, and I got the support of both the Chair and the Vice Chair under the stewardship of the clerk to put interim arrangements in place, and they've been in place with Leila to allow Mick to step over into being, not just the DCFO since the passing of Rob, but the interim Chief Fire Officer. And I had a good conversation with Mick on Monday because he'd literally had 4 days in the job. So that's where we're at around those interim arrangements. Clearly, it was interim arrangements because I had a further conversation with the clerk at the passing of Rob Taylor about could we bring it forward sooner, was there a need? We felt there was no need to substantiate Leila because it was only 2 weeks then to this meeting to actually substantiate at this meeting. Clearly she's in post, but from a substantive perspective, it'll still reflect the 22nd as of Monday, which would have been the date we would have been releasing Mick Sharman. We would have effectively released Mick today. He would have handed his kit in, and his last day in service for employment would have been Sunday at midnight. and then Leela would have taken over from midnight on Sunday stroke Monday.
Yeah, please do.
I appreciate that. I already knew that, but the reason I wanted to highlight is obviously later on in the report we're looking at FRIs, and if anybody looking at the report states that it was on the 22nd but then read that to say that they'd already in position, that's why I wanted just to verbalise it so you said it so it's out in the public, it's being recorded.
No,
That's the only reason I raised it, but thank you.
No, absolutely fair comment, and so people appreciate that. I'm kind of really proud we were in a position to do what we did given the circumstances, and I was glad for the support from the Chair and Vice Chair.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, happy to support. Go on.
Okay,
To you next
thank
week.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Background of the report, I would say Mick Sharman applied for the Deputy Chief Fire Officer role. Really sad to lose Mick. He's been an absolute stalwart of a servant to the public of Nottinghamshire. Ambition being what it is, it's a service and a county he knows well, having come from Derbyshire to here some years ago. So good luck to Mick, and we've got lots of support that we'll be offering him. As we do for senior roles, to make sure that we get a really good, strong search, we use an outside consultant because they've got far more reach than us just putting an advert in a local paper or trade press. They're able to push it into their networks. We got a reasonable response. You are relatively limited at these levels in terms of the field you get. One of the advantages we do, though, is that we have an open process, so it's not limited to people who've come up from being a firefighter. It's open to people inside the sector and outside the sector. That means we get really good, strong competition. Through that process, then, there is a process where they'll do an application that is sifted, long-listed and shortlisting. They'll do a employee and stakeholder panel. So what does that mean? They'll come into a room of about 8 or 10 people, and there's a subject matter they have to hold a conversation around. So with staff networks, trade unions, could be police staff, could be there as well, could be local authority people who are in the meeting, and they'll talk about things about how are they going to develop this organisation as a leader, and they have to control the conversation at a strategic level and have that two-way conversation. So stakeholder panels have proved really, really good about seeing somebody actually operate on some kind of issue. I introduced that, I think, about 6 years ago now, 5 years ago, certainly for senior roles. So they have the stakeholder panel. They don't necessarily influence the panel of members to say, we think you should appoint this. What they give is, we saw these strong points of strength, areas for improvement on particular candidates, and I think it just gives a richness to members about what they're seeing in actual operation outside of that pure interview process. They'll do a report, and they have to put a fire authority report together so we can see their written communication skills, and then they'll come into the appointments committee really for the final appointments committee where cross-party members are on that process, and then they get to interview them over 6 questions, and they have to present the report that they've written to you as members. So just like they would at a committee, just like they would at a fire authority, that then tests their knowledge and understanding of the subject matter and written communication, but also verbal communication at a strategic level to you as members, and also, bearing in mind we're being filmed, to the members of the public and giving that levels of confidence. On that final interview, just paraphrasing the report, we got down to the 2 strongest candidates. And it was really pleasing in terms of like the appointments committee, the praise for both candidates in all fairness, but it was absolutely unanimous from the appointments committee to recommend to you as full fire authority the appointment of Leela Berry. What I will say about Leela is that she's been with the Fire and Rescue Service in Nottinghamshire 15 years. She studied at the local university. She's raised a family here around the city. This is a place she calls home. And she's gone from being our assistant health and safety advisor since joining us to the recommended for your assistant chief fire officer. So I've seen her growth personally, and I'm super proud that we've got to the point that the appointments committee are recommending to you the appointment of Leela Berry. Chair.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I suppose, oh yes, sorry Steve, yeah, please do. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd want to second that. I was on the panel, it was a cross-party panel, and the 5 of us were unanimous in our view that she was the best candidate. I want to just give assurance to everybody, it wasn't that it was close, it was absolutely unanimous amongst us, and that it was very, very clear. She was excellent at interview. The presentation that she made in terms of the report that she'd written was very easy to follow. very, very confident in the way that she presented that. But also the interview questions were just very thorough. And would give you confidence that this is someone who could represent the authority at the highest level, with stakeholders, with partners, with the media if need be, you know, in joint work with the police and the council and that sort of thing that people at that level are doing. So, you know, I just want to give assurance to the rest of the people who weren't there that this was a very thorough process. All of us, I think, went into it with an open mind before we got there. And came out of it absolutely clear that we picked the right person.
Brilliant, thank you very much for that, thank you. So now, I think I need Leela back.
No.
So we just need to agree the recommendations.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping way too ahead of the game. Yeah, my training wheels off. Right, so yes, if we can agree the recommendations, which is 10.1, appoint Leela Berry substantively by the role of Assistant Chief Fire Officer, effective from Monday 22nd September 2025, and 10.2, note the interim arrangements put in place from Monday the 8th of September 2025. We can have a show of hands, please. Thank you, that's unanimous, thank you very much. And carried. Now you get it.
She's still there.
I just feel wrong with
You've done a run at it.
Get back in. Welcome back, Leela. Glad you didn't go too far, we've got 2 items for you. Yes, so glad to welcome back Leela and to ask you to please present the efficiency strategy update for us.
Thank you, Chair. So the service has a requirement to produce an efficiency strategy to support our medium-term financial planning process, and also the Home Office requires the production of an annual efficiency plan, seeking that all fire and rescue services find 2% non-pay efficiencies and 3% productivity increases per annum. So the report sets out to members the activities either underway or planned for this financial year to support our efficiency strategy. So you'll see in section 1.3 the graphic illustrates the elements that make up the efficiency strategy that's planned through the CRMP period of 25 to 28, and I'll take members through the report setting out the activities that are underway under each of those headings. So section 2.1 onwards sets out the activities underway with regards to commercial and income generation. So the fire service has nationally the agreement to charge for certain incident types, and the authority has previously given permission for Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service to charge for 4 incident types, which are set out in section 2.2. And these are covered under a policy which is called chargeable special service calls. We've undertaken a review of the chargeable special service calls policy with a view to bringing a report to a future Finance and Resources Committee for members to consider charging for a wider range of calls, given that we don't generate a notable income through cost recovery through our existing policy. With regards to grant funding, we've been awarded a grant of £8,500 from the National Fire Chiefs Council, and that's to support the UK Fire Cadets Startup Fund. And you'll also see at section 2.6 and 2.7 the details of 2 further grants that have been awarded both from central government and from the East Midlands Combined Authority. Now, whilst those grants don't contribute directly to efficiencies, they are used to enhance current service provision for dealing with fire prevention, fire protection and safety in the built environment. Section 2.8 onwards talks about the activities that we've been undertaking with regards to leases and licences. Section 2.8 sets out that approximately £165,000 a year is generated through lease and licence agreements relating to estates, equipment and vehicles. During this financial year, we've also renegotiated lease charges at West Bridgeford Fire Station and have used independent valuers to make sure that the authority is receiving best value from this arrangement. And additionally, we're also reviewing room hire rates to make sure that they reflect the actual ancillary costs associated with these assets. Section 2.10 onwards talks about our estate's utilisation review. So we have conducted a review of our estate, and following the closure of our fire headquarters at Bestwood, which we've just talked about, a number of functions were relocated across our estate, and what the review has shown is that currently less than 1% of our estate is vacant, indicating that we're making best use of capacity and capability of our estate's provision. Section 2.12 talks about the fleet review. So this is a significant piece of work which is currently underway and progressing in line with our expectations. And this is related specifically to specialist rescue crews which are based at Highfields and Newark. And we're currently developing proposals for a revised model seeking to both enhance community service to communities, but there is also the potential to generate efficiency savings through this work. Section 215 onwards talks about our best use of existing resources, and there are a number of work streams that fall under this piece of work. So with regards to procurement and contract management, we've had a real focus on this area of work following an internal audit which identified improvement work was required. And there's been a focus both from the procurement team in conjunction with managers across the service to generate savings and efficiencies through our contract management arrangements, and this will be reported through to Finance and Resources Committee as part of the budget monitoring report. With regards to service and process reviews, this has been part of an ongoing piece of work for the last several years. Currently there are two areas of the service that are subject to reviews. That's our people services function and also our digital function. So with regards to people services, we've commissioned an external provider to support us with this work, and we're in the process of developing a roadmap for implementation of an enhanced people function based on the outcomes of that review, and that will be presented to the Human Resources Committee for their consideration in due time. With regards to developing our digital function, this original part of work was part of the Futures 25 Change and Improvement Programme, and a digital maturity assessment was commissioned in 2024. The outcomes of that assessment have been used to inform a wider improvement programme, including the development of a new digital strategy and a functional restructure. This work is progressing and will continue to report back both efficiency and productivity improvements that are driven as a result of enhanced digitisation. With regards to the work streams that fall under the financial management element of the efficiency programme, section 2.22 talks about the insurance provision. That's covered as a separate item on the agenda, so I won't talk about that any further. And section 223 onwards talks about the minimum revenue provision review. So if you look at the table below 2.24, that sets out two sets of savings. Stage one is summarising information that's previously been reported to the committee, which was approval for the use of underspends to reduce borrowing costs, and that was reported through to Finance and Resources Committee as part of the Treasury Management report. Stage two, which is entitled Reconciliation, that's been as a consequence of the outcome of a review of the MRP schedule, and some efficiencies have come out of that work as the schedule has been able to be amended. The final work stream, just to touch on under this section, is in 2.26, which talks about enhanced financial literacy for managers and budget holders, and this is part of a financial management training package that is soon to be rolled out following completion of the statement of accounts in the autumn. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Councillor Butler.
Thank you. On section 2.2 onwards, where we're talking about charges or identifiable charges that we can make, I fully understand that at the end of the day we are an authority that reacts to incidents, obviously, and we're not really here to look for necessarily for income. But so I understand that, and also we have to watch the costs of admin and all the rest of it versus the admin versus the amount that comes in. But do we know sort of how we compare or how far other fire authorities manage this sort of thing? Are we sort of a little bit alone in not really going down this route, or is it a general nationwide thing? Just curious, really, or if indeed other fire authorities may be identifying other potential services that perhaps we haven't, that type of thing.
There certainly is variation in terms of cost and what people wish to do. You know, sometimes it's about what they offer as well. So we do offer some commissioned services, so it's kind of different to this one, and that's part of the benchmarking. I think the group manager is leading on it. I think it's Dan's leading on it. So he'll come back to us around the cost, but we are looking to bring the costs more in line, maybe with the average or with the top or whatever. But it's not a big area of demand, is the reality, Councillor.
Okay, right. I thought that might be the case, but I just wanted to be sure we weren't possibly missing out on or learning lessons or missing out on opportunities.
Yeah, the presentation we had, strategic leadership team, there was some benchmarking done, so it did put us in place. I don't think we're too extremely far out, in all fairness, but there is still some discrepancies.
Yeah, right, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Belmont. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously the report covers a number of ongoing areas, and it seems like it's an ongoing process, a lot of irons in the fire. Are you overall satisfied with the direction of travel, that efficiencies are being made? That is there something you can say that as a result of the work that you've been doing, is one area that you've found that has really banked some savings, or is it too early to tell?
Well, Bev might cover some more about it. We have to do a productivity and efficiency return. So we actually have to itemise. We did this cashable, non-cashable productivity or cash. So we have to return that every year. So we can absolutely demonstrate. I think go back 2 years, we had a 2 and 3% to achieve. And I think we achieved the 10%. We actually overachieved.
Yeah.
Now, that looks like a good thing as a snapshot, but in terms of like managing your longer term view, you may not want to make those efficiencies as quick.
Yeah.
And that also means that a couple of years later it's harder to make that 3%. But I think we've actually focused on try to find the efficiencies, don't worry about the number, try to find the efficiencies. And go back to the contract management one, we believe there's quite a lot that we can do around efficiencies in contract management. And as we do that staff training and management training, so some staff that procure something don't realise they've entered into a contract. And then there's this issue, I'm sure that councils will know anyway, about long-term contracts, managing them thoroughly so that you get the bang for your buck, but also you're not being sort of like, kind of ripped off maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a table in the paper where it covers the areas of focus, and we're still looking at those sorts of things. So things like the VRP and the reconciliation, the numbers are significant. Certainly over a 5-year period, the numbers in that table are significant. The underspend, not necessarily a good thing in terms of pay, but it's giving the opportunity to reduce debt over the next 5 years by a couple of £100,000 a year. And the reconciliation's done the same, so we're about £400,000 to £500,000 each year. So we're actively seeking it. The government, as part of your budget settlements, require it from you as well. Hopefully that's helpful.
No, that is, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Chair. Just a question on that. I mean, I know in terms of savings, everything it sounds quite reassuring, and obviously we're doing quite well. There's only one thing that sometimes comes up, and I'll ask it because the public might want to. In terms of the cost, obviously the independent consultant's been brought in, and often I assume we do that because they, take a different view. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, and etc. And they've looked at efficiencies in other organisations, but obviously that's come at a cost of £17,000. We're making substantial savings. I'm not being critical of that, but just to examine that and why we brought somebody in from outside.
So the consultants that we commissioned for that specific part of work were selected because they are embedded with other fire and rescue services, and what we wanted to do was to make sure that our people services function was benchmarked and compared against the arrangements that are in other fire and rescue services, both to make sure that we've got the skills and the capacity, but also the capability. So in terms of the driver for that piece of work, it's not one of efficiencies, although that may be a happy accident of it, but is actually about making sure that the quality of our people services function is able to support the organisation in our continual improvement journey. So the consultants that were selected did allow us to do that benchmarking work, and they're also very well positioned with the National Fire Chiefs Council and the wider sector, so they have a good understanding of the sector improvement trajectory generally. So that was why we chose to bring somebody in, and they do act as also a critical friend and appropriate scrutiny and challenge of our own thinking, which was welcome as part of that process.
Thanks.
Councillor Rule, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. At a previous members' seminar, we looked into the possibility of cost recovery from false call, where we had multiple false call-outs to premises. How much further have we got on looking at whether that's a viable option?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, we are looking at that as an option. I think just to bring up Councillor Butler's question earlier, I think often the provision of a charge means that people don't take us up on that, so rather than being an income stream, and that's very much the case in terms of unwanted fire signals. At the Community Safety Committee meeting coming up in October, there is a specific paper about our broader strategy to reduce unwanted fire signals. One element of that is around looking at chargeable calls. There are significant challenges in terms of implementing that, and it needs to be part of a suite of actions, but that paper will come to Community Safety Committee in October. We'll be able to discuss with members that whole strategy around addressing that part of the unwanted fire signal approach.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you. We have looked at this in the past, especially with the hospital and our student union flats. The concern that I have, and I'm going to raise it here now, is we're aware that student union flats have a massive call out, false alarms. We know that if they start getting fined, they are going to start disengaging, cutting the wires, turning their alarms off. It then becomes a safety risk. I'd say who's ever on that committee, please make sure you're taking that into consideration. I have no issue with us going out, if it takes 100 times on false and it's the one time it's right and we save lives, I would have major concerns supporting any instance where people are doing anything in their properties that means that they're not getting fined on the risk that an issue happens.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you on that, Councillor. I suppose the bit for you is unwanted fire signals are an opportunity to improve standards of safety. And the way we do it, I mean, the numbers of letters that we send, the way we engage, whether it's the hospitals or the universities, I'm encouraged by the level of engagement that officers have around community engagement and response. Ultimately, we need to make sure that people are having these repeat things. Something's going wrong in that building while they're having repeat things. That could be the behaviour of the residents, it could be the maintenance of the system. And I think we are the gatekeepers for making sure that people are doing their jobs right. Hopefully give you that kind of reassurance. But there are some that are persistent issue places. And we made comment about hospitals a couple of years ago, and we've done a lot of work with hospitals. And some, not just hospitals, there are some people out there, I think, that don't put their own measures in place, their own statutory responsibilities, thinking, well, we'll just call the fire and rescue service. We are not that resource for them. We are that resource when it's gone wrong for them. And I suppose with being online, if people see it, we will take a dim view of people, and we know we enforce, and enforcement is a growing area. We look like we're going to be taking, the trend is we're going to be taking more people to court. So we need to be very robust in terms of our approach. But I hope that gives you some reassurance, and I look forward to seeing the paper that goes to CS Committee on Andrew Rawls' question.
Chairman, can I just ask a follow-up question if possible?
Yeah, please.
I'm aware, and I'm sure you'll tell me if I'm wrong, is farmers, if there's fires on farmers' fields, they get charged. Is that not the case? I appreciate that, thank you.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Oh, yeah, Councillor Seaman, please.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Just going back to your chargeable incidents, just for clarification, clearing up spillages, is that outside of an emergency RTA? So if a diesel tank's ruptured because of an accident, you would start clearing that up and it wouldn't be chargeable?
At sea, if it's part of the emergency response, we would mitigate the impact of that spill. So we would try and bung the leak, we would try and bund the road, stop it going down drains. The actual clean-up operation is the kind of polluter pays principle. So the company with the tanker has responsibility to have arrangements in place to clean that up.
Right, thank you.
Going to get a chance to slurp my coffee then. Thank you. Thanks ever so much for that. And thanks. Is that everybody? Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for all your contributions. And the recommendations are on page 18. I found it this time. So if we can have a show of hands if everyone's happy, please, all in favour? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Right. Okay, yeah, so it's over to you again, Leila, for this one. So this is agenda item 7, it's the annual report on information governance 24-25. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is just a brief report which meets the requirements of the Policy and Strategy Committee, which back in 2017 requested that an annual report relating to information governance be presented to the authority to enable you to have oversight and scrutiny of our statutory requirements relating to transparency and the right to know of the public. So the report sets out an overview of the requests that have been received under a number of different arrangements, including freedom of information, environmental information requests and data protection. So with regards to freedom of information, there are statutory requirements on the service to publish certain information about our activities and also to enable members of the public to request information that we hold. So between April and March 2025, we received 129 freedom of information requests, and 87.5% of those were completed within the statutory time frame. That was a slight reduction on the previous year and also slightly below the Information Commissioner's target of 90%. There were 17 requests that exceeded the statutory deadline. 10 of them, as it sets out in section 2.4, were detailed contract-related queries that had been submitted by marketing companies, which took some time for us to pull together. Section 2.6 onwards talks about the environmental information requests, which form part of the Environmental Information Regulations 2004. There are no requests received under these regulations within the last financial year. Section 2.9 onwards sets out our responsibilities under the Data Protection Act and also the General Data Protection Regulations. These regulations enable individuals the right to request access to any information we hold about them, and in the last financial year 60 subject access requests were received, 100% of which were completed within the statutory time frame. Section 2.12 talks about the data protection regulations and the requirement for the organisation to report data breaches to the relevant authority, which is the Information Commissioner, and we're pleased to report that there were no incidents that met the threshold for reporting in the last financial year. Section 214 onwards talks about the specific powers that the service has under the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, which is colloquially known as RIPA. And this is because of the powers that we have in the interest of public safety, and there were no applications for us to use the covert investigations powers that we have under the RIPA regulations. So again, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I think that there's probably some obvious questions here. I suppose in terms of we've missed the target in terms of FOI. I appreciate there's quite a lot of them, and but obviously 12.5% I think is we've missed. Is that a staffing issue, or is there something in particular with it?
I think what we're seeing is the complexity of the requests. It sometimes presents a challenge to us. And as I've set out in section 2.5 in the report, we have looked at our internal processes to see where we can automate, where we can. And also we do have a drive for transparency with an aim to publish information on our website to try and reduce the number of freedom of information requests that are received. So we do have a small team that looks at these. Sometimes the data is available, but we do have some challenges in collating and extracting it from some of our systems. So it will be a combination of issues that have resulted in us slightly missing that target.
Yeah, sorry, can I come back, Chair? Yeah, well, I mean, excuse me, I wasn't being critical. It's just that obviously we have no control, do we, over how many requests there are. It can be very complex, as you said. I've not seen them, and it's costing us quite a lot of money. I mean, obviously there's a balance between the rights of citizens and other people to ask questions of a publicly funded body, and then it seems to me like some of these are just marketing requests that might help private companies, which, you know, we take a different view on, but we've got no control over, have we, I suppose?
Yeah, so the Information Governance Officer keeps a close eye on this because what the regulations do enable us to do is to refuse requests where they would be considered unreasonable. The way the legislation is crafted does limit the opportunity to apply that reasonableness test. But yes, I take your point, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Battlemuch, thank you.
Yeah, just a little bit further on that in terms of what the FOIs are about, because obviously in councils we're very used to getting FOI requests and we get hundreds and hundreds, and you can understand immediately what those issues are, you know, children's services, adult services, council consultations, the list is endless. People think the council are trying to, you know, stop information going out and people want to get under the root of it, but I'm trying to get my head around what could be motivating people to seek FOI from the Fire Authority. What sort of issues are we talking about that people get so irate about that they go to an FOI about?
Probably the same combination of issues that you face as a local authority. We do see, for example, if there are issues that are particularly prevalent in the media, we will receive a lot of the similar requests to those that are being received by local authorities. We act collaboratively with our East Midlands Fire and Rescue Services and also meet locally with other public authorities. We do see similar requests just being sent to all public authorities. Some of them are generated internally, for example, as part of HR casework and things like that. There may be some that are driven by certain specific interest groups, so probably not as far removed as from what you're used to seeing in the local authorities.
Councillor Bullock.
Thank you. Actually, mine was a very similar question to that, still on the FOI and the 17 requests for the marketing companies. Just, I mean, slightly intrigued as to what sort of questions we get, or am I missing a point here? Or are they just trying to find out what sort of kit we've got and can they sell us something different? Or is it that simplistic?
Yes, I think that will be motivated by commercial considerations.
And which, sorry if I can come back, and I wonder as well, I mean, I know in the greater scheme of things compared to local authorities, you don't get a huge number of FOIs, but do you think we do sometimes get what might be described as vexatious ones, you know, just sort of being put in for the sake of it, or a bit, dare I say, mischievous?
Not that I'm aware of that it's a particular issue. What we do see is we tend to be asked the same questions quite frequently. Yeah. So again, back to trying to stop it at source where we can, and if we can, we will publish information on our website to try and yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you. I noticed that we got lots of requests from the police and the court. I'm guessing that's to do with investigations. I'm sure I read it somewhere.
Yes, it is in 213, yes. Yeah, that will be linked to joint work and cases that we're involved in. So things like fire investigations and things like that potentially.
Follow up. So if these are ongoing investigations with the police, with the courts, are we able to charge that works back? Because obviously FRIs are very expensive to do, massively time constraints.
So section 213 is talking about general information requests.
Yeah.
So I would have to check my understanding as to whether we are under the same responsibilities for those as we are for those that are made under Data Protection Act disclosure. But depending on what the case is and what the information is requested, for example, if it's requested by insurance companies, then there is a charge that is applied to that. I would need to check for you with regards to the police, but it would be unlikely that we would charge a partner to share information with them.
Last one.
Oh, God.
Last one. Can I just, in the next report, it would be helpful if we could have that information. And also, if we are charged for information from a service, I'm guessing we probably aren't, but if anybody charges us, then we need to return the favour. So if we could have that in a report, it would be helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Councillor Clark, please.
Mine's quite a similar question in terms of, does the legislation allow us to charge a commercial company if they're coming to us for information so that they can market goods to us or put a tender together and all that kind of stuff? Are we able to make a charge for that service? So quite similar, but...
So I would have to check on the relevant details of the legislation. My understanding is that there's a right to request, and it doesn't matter the basis on which you're requesting that information. So if you're requesting it under freedom of information, even if it is for commercial purposes, the legislation is quite limited in terms of our ability to be able to apply a charge for cost recovery. With regards to the information that's provided to insurance companies, that if it's in relation to a fire and they're seeking, for example, our fire investigation report, then we are able to apply a charge because, in effect, it's a service that we're providing to them to support their business. So it depends on the nature of the request and why the information's being provided and under what piece of legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rule.
Thanks, Chair. At the City Council, all our FOIs go on a disclosure log that's viewable by members of the public. I'm just thinking it might be helpful if you don't already do that, for you to do something similar. Because, for example, if you're getting similar themed FOIs, then you could just refer and you've already dealt with it, you could just refer the second person that asks you to it to the disclosure log, and it would save your time in responding.
Thank you. I'll follow that up with the team, and if we don't do it, then that's a good idea. Thank you.
It is.
Okay, is that everybody? Everybody happy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is on page 24, and it recommends that members seek assurances that the service is adopting a compliant approach to managing information governance and related risks. So if we can have a show of hands, please. All in favour? Thank you. Yeah, that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Before we dive in to exclusion to the public agenda item 8, I'd like to pass over, I should say, to the CFO at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, just want to take the opportunity just to highlight the fact that this is Bev's last Fire Authority meeting with you as your Treasurer and Head of Finance. Bev's got a great opportunity professionally and personally to go and move on to bigger and better things. I'll say that from your point of view, not from mine. Bev has brought a different, complete lens on financial management and advice to the strategic leadership team. She's brought a sense of balance, but what she's brought is a sense of try to solve the issue from a financial perspective to people who think we understand finance and know we want to achieve things as a fire and rescue service, but actually it needs somebody who's really good with the money to help us understand how we solve some of those problems on behalf of our communities. Bev has been an absolute great challenge and counsellor and mentor to me financially. I've thoroughly enjoyed my learning in the time that Bev's been with us, and I just want to pass on my thanks on behalf of the strategic leadership team and the fire service in terms of the time that we've had, Beth, and you'll be sorely missed, I have to say, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All said. Right. Okay, at this juncture we're going to move on to agenda item 8, which is exclusion of the public. To consider excluding the public from the meeting during consideration of the remaining item in accordance with section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972 under Schedule 12A Part 1 Paragraph 3 on the basis that, having regard to all of the circumstances, the public interest in maintaining exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So this is the point when you get to go to the fuchsia section. Thank you.